All right, good morning and welcome to Newspaper Review right here on VOP TV. I'm Moses Humphrey and with Chukuma Okoro. Good morning, Chukuma. Good morning once again.
Once again.
All right then. Well, quickly, let's dive into the papers now. Just so you know, Newspaper Review, we extract stories from the dailies and also we take voices of Nigerians from newspaper stands across Nigeria, where they also lend their voice into the headlines, stories that made it to the cover pages of the dailies. Going straight into it, we have a few dailies in front of us. Well, the headline from the Vanguard is, quite interesting, if you ask me. The banner headline here reads, Why Grains Importation Won't Happen Soon by Stakeholders. And then subriders, 1 month gone already, as FG fine-tunes policy. Customs awaits list of importers. Stakeholders divided on policy. 100 tons capacity excludes our members. Rimfan. All right. And Serap to Akpabio. Disclosed monthly running cost of NAS. Scarcity. Nnpcl blames distribution challenges. Independent marketers sell at 950 naira a litre. And OPIC leads Amosun, Utomi, Becker over contract violation. And some more headlines from the cover page of the Vanguard. Medical students abduction, Governor Aliyah, NMA, Health Ministry, task security agents on rescue. Minimum wage, we won't accept unauthorized recruitment into agencies, FG. And Aringe emerges 14th as Sagba of Asaba, designate. And we also have bad economy, drop in passenger traffic, unsettles domestic airlines. All right, these are the headlines from the Vanguard newspaper. Now, you find some of these headlines cutting across most dailies, but, in my opinion, the rift, I'm going to, leave the banner headline to Chukuma, if he chooses to respond to that one. But the rift between former governor Ibikunle Amosun and Patrick Otomi, it brings a lot to light, about how politics is being played, how certain individuals, how if you fall out with those within the government in a state, laws might be enacted to make life difficult for you. Now, Patrick Otomi has been, he's been said to have the entitlement mentality, because the conversation is around his business interest that was cancelled by the Ogun State government at the time, about the same time that the state government cancelled their deal with the Ogun Guangdong Free Trade Zone with Zhongshan Fucheng company. Well, he did say that he was affected. He had to, his SA partners left the country. This even speaks to businesses coming to Nigeria. Now, after Utomi, talked about how he was affected, how he had to lick his wounds, and then went all the way to pay debt that was incurred due to bad business, we saw a revelation from the former governor, who basically threw more light on the matter. The former governor did say that, look, what is wrong with you is you're feeling entitled, because the issue here is that you were you were already in the black book. He was already in the black book. Hanging on to that phrase, black book. He was already in the black, a structure in the parking lot of a property that belongs to Ogun State in Lagos, somewhere in Lagos. And they asked him to, stop the building. He refused. And the State Assembly decided, okay, we'll find a way to hit back. So basically, it was hitting back.
Yes. Yeah. It's quite unfortunate. Look at, it's more like a transferred aggression. You had something with the Ogun State government in Lagos State. You had a disagreement. And the Ogun State government, the governor and the assembly had to take it out on him for doing business in Ogun State. It speaks to the whole issue of corporate governance that we have in Nigeria. All about continuity, business interest, the ease of doing business, the global competitiveness.
Ease of doing business.
Ease of doing business. These are issues that have become not just paramount, profoundly perennial in our climate. You see businesses come from outside. You see Nigerians go outside to bring businesses, and they are frustrated. It is not just at the federal or state level. It's not just at the federal level. It happens across all the states. You see one governor come, start one business. Not personal business, business for the state. Like an economic park, an economic development program, and all of that. And you see another person come and say, look, this is not what I want. He will destroy it. Apparently because he has disagreed politically with his predecessor. And that shouldn't be. Moses, we see businesses come here. They are frustrated. And they leave. Ease of doing business, corporate governance structure. I recall back in the days, I know that when Econet came, Econet had difficulties, mobilizing funds. And what happened? They brought in Misuwashi, the Zambian that came here to do the business, had difficulties in mopping up funds. So he had to bring in some people who brought in V-Mobile and Vodacom. You know why Vodacom left? Vodacom said, no, we can't give bribe. That was why they left. And that is not the only people. A lot of people come here.
A lot of businesses have had to leave Nigeria.
Had to leave Nigeria
things like this.
For things like this. Ease of doing business. They frustrate you, get this one, and all of that. And that is not the way to attract foreign investment. And mind you, our own people are involved. To look at what happened to Pat Utomi and all of that, and the brickbat we are getting from the two eminent personalities, that should actually work together to make things better for Nigeria. So what I want to see is a situation where we have strong institutions, that institutions that don't look you in the face. I mean, if you are right, you are right. If you are wrong, you are wrong. I think it was rather unfortunate, and it's disturbing.
But there's another angle to it as well, because the governor, I beg your pardon, the former governor did say that the state government decided to compensate Patutomi for the project. And when they looked at the project, they said, okay, he couldn't have spent more than 50 million naira. But he asked for 200 million. But the governor, I beg your pardon, I keep saying the governor, the former governor decided to up it, give him 100 million as compensation for money spent already. But he kept insisting. Unfortunately, he didn't get the money until that administration passed, and then another administration, But it still comes.
The bottom line is that they disagreed, and the company had to close down.
Yes,
like a lot more companies have closed down in Nigeria
because
many of them are leaving the shores of Nigeria. What? Because of bad business environment, and it's not good for us.
So it's not just enough that we are looking for FDI now, or looking for investors. We should fix a few things in the home front.
Exactly, because people here are leaving. So how do you convince others to come? How do you convince others to come?
All right, then. Well, another headline that interests me, before you take the ones that interest you from this daily, the duty-free importation of grains, husked brown rice, beans, millet, and the rest of them. Government did say they have a 150 window for this duty-free importation, so Nigerians can have access to food. But here we are, a situation whereby this is still, the bureaucratic bottleneck has lingered for 30 days. 1 month is gone. That's it. That's reducing the 150 days window to 120. Will that be sorted before this time expires? Or are we going to see a situation whereby we will go back and forth, and at the end of the day, the 150-day window will expire, and we'll still not have grains or food being imported into the country freely?
Moses, it has become our way of life. Our life has been
going
patterned,
back and forth.
Just not to get anything right. I mean, we have policymakers. What is difficult in this? You have an arrangement to import grains, and you have a window, 150 days. So why don't you work towards that? And we are here hearing stories again about not, the whole thing is, I mean, it's so embarrassing, so disturbing. Does it mean we cannot get something right at a go, in one go? And in the midst of the hunger, in the midst of the crisis, we are getting this type of feedback from government, from policymakers. So it clearly tells you that the food crisis is not about to end. That is what it tells you, because we can't even import. We have granted waivers to people to import, duties and all of that. Yeah, they cannot import. And, the issue I have with even importation is that, and I keep asking the question, why don't we have preemptive or proactive measures? Moses, is it not possible for us to sit back here, our policymakers to sit back and say, and make predictions that in the next 2 or 3 years, we are likely to run into food shortages, and start now to make arrangements to forestall that from happening?
That would be the ideal thing.
The ideal thing to do. You don't wait for problems to come to you before you start solving them. It's about the whole issue of fire brigade. We wait for something to happen to us. We wait for the system to collapse before we start looking for ways to rebuild it. Probably because the people that are involved want the system to collapse so that they will make more money in the process of rebuilding it. That is just what it is. It's not good for us as a people. It's not good. And I like to...
Cyber screening on IPBS portal ends Friday. FG. All right, go ahead.
Okay, Moses, about Nnpcl, I'm kind of surprised because during the End Bad Governance protest, people asked questions. Why is it that filling stations are not open? And we had the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association, their spokesperson, come to say, oh, we have closed our filling stations not because we don't have products, but because we are scared, of protesters coming to damage our properties like what happened during the NSAS. We have enough products to last for as long as. And here we are again, battling product scarcity. So what do we say?
A week after.
A week after. And so I don't want a situation where the queues are back in Lagos and in other parts of the country. Certainly, transportation fare is on the increase. And, clearly, it's going to be something multidimensional because it's going to affect the price of food items. It's going to affect the other prices. And look at here. We are rejoicing that we have a slight fall, on price of food items. And here again, we are talking about fuel scarcity, which, in any case, is one of the fundamental issues why food prices are
going up.
Yes. So I want the Nnpcl, to put the acts together and ensure that, look, we don't get into, the times are already hard. Nigerians are already suffering.
Nnpcl has come out to say that they might be withdrawing licenses of some of these people that market fuel because they seem to be holding it intentionally.
No, but the people are also saying that we buy fuel at 960 naira. So how much do we pay?
Do you think the conversation around the Malta blending plant is part of the reasons Nigerians are not having access to the products right now? To fuel in Nigeria?
I don't think so because Malta is just one level.
Basically, by Malta, I mean importation. Yes.
No, but we virtually import everything we consume. We virtually import everything we consume. So if the problem is with the imports, I'm not sure it's with the imports because the people are making a lot of money. I want to know what is the problem. Is it that they want to jack up the prices because they say that, look, we are paying 960 naira, and the pump price in some places is somewhere in Benin, it's like 690 or so, like 1 week ago. In some places in the southeast, you buy 800, 820, and in Lagos, it's about 1,000 naira. So why do we have this price variation?
And then Nnpcl, given its reason for not investing so much into Dangote Refinery as being the fact that they realized that CNG is cheaper, so they chose to invest in CNG. But
Now,
is that investment in the interest of Nigerians?
Now, do we have the CNG?
Since we don't have a lot of it available.
We have the CNG, you know. If they are saying, okay, in the in the long term, this is where we are headed, I will understand. But if you are headed somewhere long term, you also have to solve your short-term problems for you to survive. Otherwise, you might not even have the opportunity to be alive to enjoy the long term.
I think there's a lot of propaganda still been going on. I think
Is it propaganda or bad business? Is it propaganda or bad business? I mean, some people are profiteering. It's more like using the word profiteering from the rot in the oil industry. Nigeria has no business going through all this. And Moses, I mean, you have clean water at your backyard and you are unable to have potable water. Whose problem is it? It's clearly your problem. Nigeria has no business going through all of this. I said, like, it's coming back now. It started in Abuja long ago. You know, filling stations were locked. You know, when questions were asked, it was like, we don't have products. So what's going on? What's going on? It speaks to I think it speaks to the cartel that Aliko talked about, you know, when he said that the cartel in the oil industry is stronger and even fiercer than the cartel in the drug business. The drug business,
indeed.
Yes. So the conversation around Nnpcl, you know, is something that we don't need to keep hammering on. It is their call, it is their duty to provide fuel for Nigerians, you know. We are not even talking about removing the fuel subsidy now. What we are talking about now is the availability of the product.
All right then. Well, let's go to some other headlines now. On Saturday, there was some students were abducted. So we're back to this conversation of abduction from Unijos and University of Maiduguri, going for a conference in Enugu, I think. I'm not sure, but they were abducted somewhere around Benue. A lot of them. And we saw reports that the IGP said, look, they've deployed drones, they've deployed helicopters to ensure that they track down the abductors. You know, it still boils down to not being proactive. Shouldn't our roads be protected? Shouldn't there be... we know that kidnapping is a thing that we are still dealing with. And if people are traveling, our roads should be protected enough. We can't just continue, okay, when people are abducted, then you're sending drones, then you're sending the military to go there, to go into the forest, to ensure that you free them. What have you done to ensure that the roads are protected and people can move around freely? Not everybody can afford to fly.
Yes, but it still boils down to the issue of prevention is better than cure, you know. Nigeria unfortunately happens to be under siege, you know. We have been enveloped by insecurity, every part of the country. No one is left out, you know. It's quite unfortunate, you know, and I sympathize with the people that are involved, the parents too, because I can't imagine my daughter, you know, being kidnapped and for like 3-4 days, and we are running helter-skelter to see how to rescue her. And it speaks to the larger issue of insecurity. Like I said, insecurity has enveloped Nigeria. Nigeria is a nation under siege. And it becomes more uncomfortable if you realize that so much money is put into this to fight the insecurity. And yet we don't make headway. And the thing keeps going worse every other day. We have a police force that is not able to patrol our roads. Moses, you are very familiar with what happened in the Kaduna-Abuja highway, you know, like 3 years ago or more. It's not as if it has ended, but at least we don't get to hear the stories as we used to. You know. So what did we do to stop that? Can't we do that in other places? You know, there are parts of, and even about kidnap, the other day, people in Benue State were killed by people suspected to be headsmen. Their farm, there's a large yam market, very large yam market, that you have people coming from Niger, people coming from Cameroon, people coming from Benin, people coming from all parts of West Africa come to that yam market. market, as Moses, as we speak, that market has been shut down. Do you know why? Because farmers no longer go to farms. It is not as if our lands is no longer fertile for yam production.
Those that go to farms are killed.
Are killed because people don't even go to farm again. And they were crying. Like one day, about 62 people were murdered by people suspected to be herdsmen. Herdsmen from where? And we have a government, we have a sitting government that is supposed to protect lives and property of people, and we are having this discussion. Food, everything centers around the insecurity, you know. So, and I also like the fact that our security agencies should be proactive. We don't just want to hear them say, oh, we now know the people that are planning protests, or we know the people that are doing this or that. We also want to see them apprehend the kidnappers. Not just the kidnappers, but the people that are sponsoring them. That is the only way to stop this run. That is the only way to stop this mess. Unfortunately, it keeps increasing every other day. We can't go in this direction. We can't go in this direction. Something has to be done. There must be a synergy, you know, between the Nigerian police force, between the military. I agree that, yes, to the extent that we have been enveloped by, it's now kidnapping, banditry, terrorism is now a national security concern. So even if we have to use the military to stop that, I don't care, you know, because it has got to a point where ordinary law enforcement, like the military and NCDS, can no longer take care of that. You know, so there should be a synergy between, and I expect the National Security Advisor, the NSA, to work in concert with the Ministry of Defense, all the security agencies, to make sure that this thing is brought to an end. It is affecting our economy, it's affecting our livelihood. We heard about a commissioner that was kidnapped in that state. After 3 or 4 days, she was killed. Quite unfortunate. And it happens every other day. There are many cases that we don't even hear about.
Quite unfortunately. Well, permit me to take you back a little, just a few steps back to the conversation around the scarcity of fuel. I just saw this headline from the Nation newspaper. You know, the headline, it reads, it's just underneath the pictorial that shows queues at filling stations. And the headline reads, the Nnpcl Limited regrets the tightness in fuel supply witnessed in some parts of Lagos and the FCT, which is as a result of distribution challenges. And then underneath that one, oil and gas operators are cutting away the profits, leaving Nigerians with pains. Oil and gas operators are cutting away the profits, leaving Nigerians with pains. That's from the Nation newspaper. You know, I just saw that one, and then, you know, to buttress some of the things that you said earlier, I had to just go back to that one, because fuel scarcity really is biting hard. Yes, that's it on your screen.
Yes, Moses, you see, it's sometimes people in communication, you know, they like to play smart when they want to. You know, you say in some parts of Lagos and Abuja. Is there any part of Lagos or Abuja there is surplus supply of fuel? And then you don't say some parts. It's in Lagos and Abuja, you know, and it's extending to other parts of the country. Like I said the other day in Benin, you know, there was fuel scarcity too. Oh, yes. And they had to lock their shop. They had to lock up the filling stations, you know. So it is very clear, like I said, that some people are profiteering. I hadn't even seen I hadn't seen it before I made that statement. Some people are clearly profiteering and leaving the Nigerians at the short end of the stick, and it shouldn't be. Moses, we are an oil-producing nation. You know, Malaysia has Petronas. Petronas is like their own oil state corporation, like we have the Nnpcl. Petronas, Malaysia, incidentally, doesn't have a lot of oil. That is, if they have at all. They do with Brunei and all of that. Petronas built the Twin Tower. You know about the Twin Tower in Kuala Lumpur? It was bought from proceeds made by Petronas. It was bought from proceeds made by Petronas. It's a business, it's an ongoing concern, and they are making a lot of money. And in Kuala Lumpur, you drive in, they don't have oil. You drive in into a filling station. You serve yourself and walk away. You drive away. I've never seen, all the period I've been to Kuala Lumpur, I don't see fuel scarcity. And it is not just there, and in other parts of the country. Yet, we have enough oil. Moses, we cannot refine. We cannot import, because clearly this is a challenge of importation. and yet we are spending so much money. And I keep saying that this issue of fuel scarcity, the problem in the oil industry, if it is fixed, it will rub off positively on like 40-50% of other challenges we have. If we deal with that, we deal with power generation and deal with insecurity. Most Nigerians are good to go, very resilient, very hardworking people. Give us the environment, make it conducive for us. Nigerians survive elsewhere, where the environment is conducive, and we do very well. But back home, we are stuck.
We're struggling.
We are struggling, and it shouldn't be.
Okay, I know you've been itching to get your view on one of the headlines we discussed this morning.
Which one is that?
That's about the National Assembly, making public how much they earn. I'm going to take it from the Daily News Hub, where the headline here reads, disclose National Assembly monthly running costs. Sarah challenges Akpabio Abbas. Well, on the other side of the show, you couldn't express yourself freely.
Yes.
But here you can.
I can.
So go ahead.
Moses, you see, the National Assembly has become a cesspool of corruption. Very unfortunate. And I also have a problem with the leadership of the National Assembly. The current National Assembly, in my assessment, in my evaluation, is about the worst we have had. It doesn't have the leadership. It's clearly gone bonkers.
About the worst? Are you saying the Ninth Assembly was even better? The one that was tagged the rubber stamp assembly?
This one is
even
still
better?
This one. No. If you talk about rubber stamp, we've always had rubber stamp National Assembly.
Would you consider the Saraki Assembly also rubber stamp assembly?
Moses, is there anything that the federal government wanted, the president wanted that they didn't get?
Oh, there were a lot of things that
Can you refresh my memory?
Policies that the government wanted, that the Buhari government wanted during his first term in office, that the Saraki-led assembly made it difficult for him to get.
Made it difficult, but eventually they got it.
Well,
so that's it. The issue of rubber stamping, this one is clearly obvious. It's clearly obvious that, and the Senate president told you, he said we'll give the president whatever he wants. Anything that the president wants us to do, that is clearly what we are going to do. He said that he didn't mince words. He didn't hide it in the papers and social media. And this is a young man that, like I said, he's been governor, he's been commissioner, he's been in the Senate before, and he's so insensitive to the plight of Nigerians. His courage, his comportment is nothing to write home about. About their salaries and remunerations. What I want people to tell me is, they have violated the laws of our land. So what can we do to make sure that, look, going forward, this thing doesn't happen again? Even if we can't bring them to justice for the infraction they have made. How do we get around that? How do we get around that? And they are trying to make excuses. Adramodu has said, look, for the fact that they are even denying is a problem. The fact that they are even denying is a problem. No. And another person came out to say 21 million, and Abu said 29 million, and even saying that it is even not enough. So how much is enough? We have been talking about the opacity of the books of the National Assembly. But Moses, I keep talking about...
Sorry to interrupt your train of thought there. Shouldn't it be embarrassing that our lawmakers feel the need to give people handouts?
Handouts.
When they go to their constituents.
That is exactly...
Isn't that embarrassing?
It's not just embarrassing, it's insulting. It's actually insulting, because that is where Nigerians don't need handouts. Like I said in the issue of petroleum, the petrol scarcity, Moses, what Nigerians need is a conducive environment to do business. Very resilient people. You don't need all this. I appreciate the fact that, look, if people's homes are flooded, people are displaced, or one way or the other, that you can go and give them palliative, to say, what a palliative mean? It's like an intervention.
Temporal measure.
Yes. A temporary measure, a stopgap measure, you bridge it pending the resolution of a particular crisis, But our government, they have a false sense of accomplishment. False sense of accomplishment. Oh, we gave 40,000 bags of rice. And you expect us to clap for you? After eating those bags of rice, what do? We come back to you for more. You know, so the National Assembly is clearly not doing what it's supposed to do. And I talk about building a culture of political impunity. I said it on radio the other day, on VOP radio. Moses, in 1983, between 1979 and 1983, Shehu Shagari, our first executive president, he cried out. He said he doesn't know the kind of National Assembly he has. Because the executive approved in the budget 3 million naira for legislators' quarters. The legislators went back to the National Assembly, jacked it up to 21 million naira. More like padded it, like the kind of padding we have that put Abdul into problem. The padding, you know, padded it up to 21 million naira. That's a clear difference of 18 million naira. You know how much 18 million naira meant in 1979? As if that was not enough, Shehu Shagari said that the legislators pocketed 2,000 allowances for 2,480 non-existent aids, like personal aids, legislative aids, and all of that. 2,400 allowances of 2,480 people that were non-existent in 1979, 1980. Shehu Shagari said that legislators embarked on frivolous overseas trips just to go and do what? Without approval, to go and understudy the presidential system of government. Without approval. And why I'm bringing back this to the issue for is that Moses, this is about more than how many years? It's about 41 years. And we still have a National Assembly that is fixing its own salaries in clear violation of the Ramfac law. What should be done? What should we do about it? How do we hold them to account? That is the big question, and nobody has been able to answer the question. What do you think we should do?
Well, it's still the National Assembly that will make laws. That's the unfortunate thing. But like one of our guests did point out, this falls back on the table of the executive arm of the executive. The executive can insist on not signing some of the budgets that are brought forward. If it sees that, look, what I presented has been padded, brought to a certain amount of money, I'll refuse to sign and send it back and ask that there be a review of it before he signs. So it still comes back to the executive ensuring that these excesses are curbed.
Moses, we also saw during the Buhari regime how a particular budget went back and forth. And what came out of it? Nothing came out of it, because these people, they have trade-offs. Do this for me, and I will do this for you. Do we have that kind of thing happen in the Congress, in the U.S. Congress?
Well, I think there are trade-offs everywhere.
There are trade-offs
everywhere, but it may just not be as obvious.
Self-serving trade-offs.
Yes.
Is it trade-offs that impact positively on the people?
Well, I would like to believe that politicians all over the world are selfish.
All over the world?
All over the world.
What percentage?
I would say largely. I don't want to put a percentage to it, but
asking about percentages because despite the selfishness of politicians in advanced democracies and advanced countries, the people don't get to.
They still get to benefit the dividends of democracy.
Unlike what we have here, their selfishness is to the extent that they profiteer because they are not doing business on our national wealth. So what do we do? Is it to go and what do we do? Like somebody said, occupy the National Assembly, and we occupied the National Assembly before and nothing came out of it. So Moses, it's a very we find ourselves in a very precarious situation.
Well, I think we are doing what we should do. Talk about it as much as we can.
Yes. As the media, we are doing what we can do. Yes. And I expect the civil society organization too.
SERAP is doing what it should do.
SERAP is doing fantastically well. I want to see a more vibrant civil society, like we had in the military.
I don't think it should be SERAP alone. I think other civil society organizations should also chime into this.
Exactly.
You let their voices be heard. If
like we have CPA of Olufemi Lawson, he's taking some lawyers, some state governments to court on account of appointments of judges that are not qualified to hold positions and all of that. So I want to see a broader coalition, even among members of the civil society.
I think that is when we'll have a major impact. If there is that togetherness in the fight against the governance, how bad it is. If there is that togetherness, if government sees that, look, the people are coming together, speaking with one voice, then policies will be made that will benefit the people.
And for Nigerians too. I mean, if you see evil, say evil, If you see that
something, say something.
If you see something, say something. If you see evil, say it is evil. Because you clearly see people, who support leaders based on where they are coming from. It's not just at the federal level, even at the state level. In my state, I see people support a particular governor because he is from my senatorial zone, and even if he's doing bad, even if it is doing wrong, it doesn't bother people, so long as they are benefiting from it. So when people from other zones cry foul or shout, they say, look, forget it, it's our turn. So that idea of it's our turn is also part of what is destroying us as a people. We owe ourselves that duty to do what is right. Because at the end of the day, hardship doesn't discriminate. If the president is Yoruba people don't buy food from the market differently. If the president is Igbo or Hausa, you don't go to supermarkets and say, oh, I'm Igbo, so sell to me at a cheaper price. It is a collective thing. It affects every other person. So the earlier we understood that, the better for us.
Indeed. Well, there's a headline I was looking for, but it's not on the cover page, but I'm sure it's somewhere in the papers where Nnpcl Director General Akintola was talking about. Well, it's not related to what we're talking about. It reminds me of the nepotism and how divided we are really.
Yes, our fault lines, ethnicity, religion.
Those fault lines that have divided us, because he was talking about how embarrassing it is that the government, the Kaduna state government, will hire a Southwesterner lawyer to defend the government against El Rufai. El Rufai has been, there's a case of 423 billion naira on his
head.
Yes, and then the Kaduna state government employed Femi to defend him, and he came to say, look, that we have a lot of seasoned lawyers in the north, and I saw that report, and I'm like, does it matter? He was speaking about jurisdiction, and I'm like, look, Kaduna is a subnational of Nigeria, so it's still within the same jurisdiction. A lawyer can come from anywhere. But we obviously are divided against certain lines, ethnicity, religion.
They're clearly divided.
Now, the issue should be, how can we move forward as a nation if we stay divided?
Moses, we can't move forward, and that is a call, on our leadership. The problem.
Politicians even use these division to win elections.
Exactly. That's what
they hammer on it, and then they win elections.
It happens. So what we are discussing is clearly, and Nigeria's problem, Nigeria's challenge is a challenge of leadership. Moses, if you do it like 6, 8, 9, when you write 6, 8, and 9, if you turn it upside down, it remains 6, 8, and 9. Anyhow you swing Nigeria, back and forth, front and back, left, right, and center, our problem is clearly a problem of leadership. It's clearly a problem of leadership. Because one of our guests, Mr. Aki, made mention about restructuring, the structure, the system. And I keep asking this particular question. What is wrong with the system? What is wrong with the system?
All right, as we proceed on the show, and in coming days, we'll give you an opportunity to be part of the conversation. For today, you can drop your comments underneath the post on Facebook. We'll take them tomorrow. If we see comments that deserve to be taken on the show, we'll take them tomorrow when we come here. But in the coming days, there will be a number on your screen with which you can send a text message to us, and we will read out your thoughts as we discuss the papers. We'd like to hear from you as we go through the papers going forward. All right, so I'd like our producers to have that number on the screen right now, so you can start saving the number down. as that will be your way of getting into this conversation live as we go today. Unfortunately, we are unable to connect to our correspondent who's on the streets talking to Nigerians to bring their thoughts on the show. Unfortunately, we are unable to reach out to her, but we'll ensure that doesn't happen next time. So tomorrow, you'll be hearing your voices right here on the program. Now, before we go, let's touch on another daily. Let's see now. I think I do have another first news. All right. Well, the headlines here still very much the same with some from other dailies. The banner headline: fuel scarcity hits Lagos hard. Long queues, price hikes, government crackdown. Serap demands NAS running cost disclosure, threatens legal action against Akpabio Abbas. 2027, I have no plans to run against Tinubu, Ganduje amid campaign poster controversy. I have something to say on that one. On top of the banner headline there, well, right beside the nameplate, we have Obasanjo's self-centered leadership hindering Nigeria's development. Well, you talked about that one already.
Yes, leadership, clearly,
yes.
Problem of leadership.
Self-centeredness, that's basically what is affecting us. Well, he was also self-centered because he wanted a third term in office.
No, Moses, I'm on air.
But he wanted a third term in office.
I am on air.
Yes, you are.
You know, I'm on air, and I was one of those people strongly behind Obasanjo for a third term.
Why so?
Yes. Because if you ask me,
wouldn't that be going against the Constitution?
No. Moses, I'm coming to that. He wanted to amend the Constitution to get a third term. You know, Obasanjo, by my estimation, can clearly be called the father of modern Nigeria, the father of this fourth republic that we have. Because we had an Obasanjo come, operate the 1999 Constitution. We had an Obasanjo come, redistribute resources accordingly. And every region of this country had a sense of belonging. Moses, we had an Obasanjo that came and appointed eggheads into very strategic ministries. We had an Obasanjo that secured a 30 billion naira debt relief for Nigeria. We had an Obasanjo that did all that and grew the economy. We had an Obasanjo that decentralized military commands to the extent that it is not very easy now for the military to mop up and do anything that will make this country go awry. Obasanjo did all of that. And why I'm talking about his third term, he needed more time. 8 years wasn't enough. Nigeria had been, on unhindered, unimpeded descent during the military era. Nigeria had gone through all of that, and we had Obasanjo.
And you do understand that.
No, Moses, I'm coming. Okay. I'm coming. Let me land. You see, the presidential system of government it's more restrictive in performance. Like people say, 4 years, 8 years is not enough. Let me tell you, Lee Kuan Yew, the man who built Singapore, had 31 years in office. Moses, do you think he would have been able to do that if he had only 4 or 8 years? Certainly no. So that is one of the problems I have with the presidential system of government.
Well,
but it's somehow Obasanjo didn't get it, and all of us know what happened. Moses, see, democracy is how can I put it? Even Lee Kuan Yew says that Singaporeans will choose good life over democracy. Yes, that Singaporeans will choose good life over democracy. He did admit himself that he was a mild dictator. There was press. He got press freedom. He said the freedom of the press is the opportunity of press owners to run down the government. He did all of that, and within 31 years, look at what Singapore has.
That's exactly what's happening around Africa. African leaders want to stay put in power.
Unfortunately, when they stay put, they don't make the kind of impact that we saw Lee Kuan Yew make. That is the issue. So it comes back to the issue of leadership, self-serving leadership.
If Obasanjo had done it, if he had been allowed, that would have trickled down. We would have seen other leaders insist on staying longer in office.
Obasanjo will probably have, built institutions. Very strong institutions. Obasanjo brought the EFCC. Obasanjo brought the ICPC. Obasanjo brought a lot of things.
Do you subscribe to a 6-year single term?
There's no difference between that and 8 years. It's even worse than 8 years. What are you going to do in 6 years? You can't build a refinery in 8 years. It's in 6 years that somebody will build it.
All right then. Well, honor, a man of honor should have, done things differently. Like we saw Nelson Mandela of South Africa. He did step aside when he felt, look, he had achieved.
South Africa is a white country in a black land. It was a white country in the black land then. He inherited infrastructure. What did Obasanjo inherit?
All right, I guess this is how far we can stretch the newspaper review. This argument will continue, of course. Some Nigerians are saying, look, Obasanjo shouldn't be regarded because of certain policies that he put out, and also his desire for a third term. But Chukwuma Okoro is of the opinion that he should have been given that third term, as he would have turned things around. And maybe, just maybe, Nigeria would have been better for it. Oh well, we never know now.
Yes, Moses.
We never know.
Yes, Moses. I believe that Obasanjo built structures. Like I just mentioned,
he would have done.
He would have done a lot more. According to me, and not just according to me. At least you see those things.
No, I don't.
No, you see, but you see EFCC, you see ICPC. You understand? He got that free, and a lot of. Moses, there was peace in the land. The land was calm. Nobody was talking about, I want to go. It was when a certain man came and everything, turned very hostile. And everybody is like, I want to go. Look at the killings everywhere. And, just because one man came. And we more like see a continuation of that same trend. One man, two men under the same party.
All right, then. Well, this is how far we can go. Well, I'm Moses Humphrey.
And I am Chukwuma Okoro.
I'll see you next time. Bye.